a hierarchy, a leadership, is just this: warmth, friendliness, communications. I have very seldom been to a temple where it's so noticeable as here. So all glories to you. This is wonderful. And I think in some part it's due also to, from my perspective as a temporary visitor, the altar where you see Lord Damodar trying to be, Yashoda, Mother Yashoda was trying to tie him up. And that's exactly what we're trying to do all the time, tie things up and measure things. And we've been also speaking about dreams, about reality. We've done so many different topics and different theories. And that's just like Mother Yashoda trying to tie Krishna up into certain, what she wanted. And it's just so nice to see that you can't. Krishna is Krishna. He cannot be understood. Krishna explains that in Bhagavad Gita too. Can't be understood. Just accepted and loved. And that is what bhakti is all about. So we have to allow for this inconceivable nature of God, rather than getting stuck in doctrines and fighting each other over it. So thank you very much for that also. And this is a wonderful festival. Damodarastaka is a beautiful song. Now I've spoken enough about this, so I just want to say thank you, that's all.
I just want to mention one thing too, and appreciation for being here and feeling very happy that this place is flourishing. We will talk about how it started, and that was over 40 years ago, and now it's still going on, and at this present time I think it's really flourishing and in a fantastic way. So it's really encouraging, actually. And thank you for inviting me to come here and speak.
Well, it's been a long journey to get here, and some of you are still here. Some are still doing your duty and attending the ceremonies and doing. I'm just. In America, they would say gobsmacked by the glory of you all. And unfortunately, that's tinged a little bit with what I was explaining yesterday about feeling inadequate and how to overcome that. And it's rather simple because, we are parts and parcel of Krishna. And therefore, we are not inadequate. That is the illusion. We are full of potential power to exhibit Krishna's glories. And this is exactly what we saw with Prabhupada. And I'm doing a long introduction to Anvik. When we first came here, and well, not particularly here, but to Sweden, we came from Australia, and Ajit had written to Prabhupada, could we go to Sweden? And Prabhupada, of course, was overjoyed. And he asked Prabhupada had asked me that question when I got initiated in Bombay. So, Vegavan Prabhu, where do you want to go? Sweden. And I, of course, like you all would answer, yeah, I'll go wherever you want, Prabhupada. Then he said, oh, you can come to Australia. So I traveled with Prabhupada to Australia. But the thing is, when we first came to Sweden, our first temple, if you want to call it that, or our first ashram was a tent. And how long did we stay in that tent?
Well, about a little more than a month, I think. We stayed sometimes at my parents' place, so we went out from there and they traveled around. They live in Västerås, and we traveled to Uppsala, Stockholm, Södertälje, Eskilstuna, and lived in tents and doing Sankirtan for about a month and a half. In July, we came in June. Actually, Krishna Priya and myself, we came already in April 1st, and then we went down to Germany to collect money, and then we were joined by Vegavan and Padmavati. And in June, 1st of June, I think, we came to Sweden, and in the middle of July, we got this temple in Spånga, rented that house.
So you agree now that it was the 1st of June?
Well, I haven't said anything else.
Okay. Because in my mind it was always 1st of June, and I think you said your father had a diary that we came there on the 3rd or 4th or something. Anyway.
Whatever. Maybe I did that sometime. But I've forgotten. Yeah, okay.
So that's how it started, and what we got from Prabhupada was so many things. One of the things was, in my interpretation, in spite of fear, do it anyway. And the opportunity to get Koshnas was such a thing. Ajit was just reminding me this morning that it started with an ad in the paper. Is that right?
Yeah, that's what I remember. We were looking for a place. After Spånga, we moved into Östermalm to Grevgatan about a year. It was in the very beginning of 75. And then we got Koshnas 77. And we were looking for a bigger place, like, everywhere they got these castles, and manors, a bit away from the city. So we were looking for something like that too. And we had looked at a few places before, actually. We found this place, Eller Korsnäs. And that was through an ad in the paper. We saw this very beautiful building. And thought, oh, this looks like a temple. We should get that. And so we did.
Well, so we did. But we have to remember we didn't have many thousands of crowns in the bank. Did we have 12,000 at that time?
No, actually we had more.
Oh.
Yeah, we put in. Well, this is maybe not so important, but I think we put in 50,000 from what we collected here in Sweden.
Not bad.
That wasn't bad, no, in those days. But then we got a lot of money from BBT, about 150,000. As far as I remember, I was treasurer then. So, and that was through, because we found this ad it was in the beginning of 77, and we contacted the
estate agent.
Yeah, and came out to look at the place. And the estate agents are really nice people. And we shortly after that, we got a new GBC here, Harikesh. For a year we had Jyatita, and before that Hansaduta. And so we already found this place when Harikesh came. And he was also quite enthusiastic, I think. He thought it. I mean, Korsnäs was awesome. He said, I remember, and he had resources, of course, from the BBT, because BBT is partly financing books and partly financing temples. So, in this way, we could purchase Korsnäs.
But it was a real wonderful feeling when we walked down from the road up towards Korsnäs. And wow, you know, this is us. We were just a few devotees then. So anyway, decided to pursue it. And as you said, the estate agent was quite favorable to us. And then we met the person who actually sat on the money, meaning the deciding power over who the next owners would be. And they liked us. Excuse me. And his wife liked us. And so we had quite a good relationship there going. And then eventually, when it came to signing the contract, putting down our 50,000 or whatever it was you say, then we had a problem. Go ahead.
Well, I don't know which problem, because there was many different problems. But for one thing, we had to organize the society in a way that we were allowed to purchase a place. And then we got help actually from Prabhu's and Prabhu's father. He was a lawyer, and he helped us write the proper constitution for ISKCON, so we could purchase this place, and also, registered it in a proper way, and and then we had to speak to the person who was selling the place was also a lawyer, because it'd been owned by some person who actually had committed suicide. He was part of the underworld in Sweden at that time. I don't know if you heard of Mr. X and Sandhamns League, and there was criminal people, and for a short while, one person had owned this place, and then died, and so it was a dödsbo. What's that? Death. Anyway, and it was sold by the lawyer for all these criminals. He was in charge of selling the place, and it was arranged that we should meet at Grand Hotel in Stockholm to close the deal, so to speak. And we didn't really know how to do that, whether we should go as devotees, or whether we should dress up like, with wigs and suit. So we did the last thing. And at this time, the person who had actually the money in the place, he had been the owner before this criminal. He was there, and he liked us very much, and we were, discussion about the price of the place, and we ended up with offering 1,050,000. That was agreed. So that was the cost of Korsnäs. And I think the problem maybe came later. What you're talking about?
Well, the problem came when we met at Korsnäs.
Yeah, because we went out after that to see what we wanted to keep of the furniture and things like that, and then also a krögare, There was a person there. Mattsson, his name was. I don't remember now. He was. He had lots of restaurants and hotels and stuff like that, and he came there to see what he could get from, buy from the, furniture and stuff in.
You were from Stockholm. You know, he was the owner of Södertälje Stadshotel. He was the ex-owner of Hamburger Busch, so he wasn't a small player. He was a big player. And a crook.
Yeah, and when he saw the place, he say, I pay 1.5 million cash right now, and then this person who had the money in the place, who could decide, he said, no, these guys should have it. I'll get some points in heaven for that.
Yeah, well, that's a real miracle, because when he came in, he came afterwards, this Mattsson, and we were already sitting down, and then he comes up with this, I'll pay 1.5 million cash. The heart sank, and then Bolin, the ex-owner, said what he said. That was wonderful. But then problem number 2 started. Immediately, once we signed, how on earth are we going to afford this? And Smita Krishna Maharaj was yesterday talking about dreaming. And, there you are, Maharaj. Dreaming. Well, the dreaming, I had to suffer your dream, actually. Because we had to go, remember, to collect the money and distribute the books. And Maharaj, his dream is to go out and camp by a lake, and freezing cold, go and swim in the lake. And that wasn't my dream. But we did, we went out, most of us, and the few devotees that we had, to collect money for this project. I'm happy we did. I'm happy you sort of dreamt that way, because he was nice. Yeah. All right, so are we finished with Koshnas, or shall we?
No, I don't think we should be finished with. But anyway, we finished talking about it. Anyway, yeah. So then comes the farm business. I mean, because that was also one of Prabhupada's plans, we should get, a farm and be more or less self-sufficient as much as possible. And that happened in the US and all over the world. They got farms, so we should also have a farm.
Plus, we already had a cow, or calf.
Yeah. Koshnas didn't have any land. It was like a manor, but it was just the couple of acres, I think a few. Anyway, so we were looking around for that. We had done that before too. Do you remember?
Yeah.
In the very beginning, we went out
on the island.
We were about to buy an island out in Dalsland. It was a fantastic place. It was an old manor, and it was, and we could buy on an island. We could buy the whole island, and it was, it was very cheap. I mean, 600,000 or something like that. This was already 73 actually, but we were not, we couldn't really deal with the thing. We were part in offering, money for it, but we were not professional enough to handle the situation. Otherwise, we might have had an island too.
With its own little ferry.
Yeah, it was it was Henriksholm. It was called, the place in Nimmen, I think, in a lake just west of Vänern. In Dalsland. Anyway, that wasn't important. But we found this place somehow. I don't remember how.
Probably an ad. I would think. Same. And then somehow we came here, and for us it was perfect. We did lots of buildings, and had land. We could have cows here, grow things here. But for some of the others who wanted to bid for this place, it wasn't perfect. It was too many buildings. They just wanted the land. They were farmers. They just like the land. They don't care about building so much. So for us it was perfect. And it's a long story, but I'll make it very short. We couldn't buy it technically because this was designated farmland. And in those days, to have farmland, you had to be a farmer. Yeah. And fortunately, we had a few farmers. And one of them is not here right now, but his wife is here. He had a certificate from Czech Republic, Czechoslovakia then. And then we had an expert on agriculture and from Göteborg, and he's sitting here, Madhavapuri. What did your little certificate say? The one you had inside your shirt and everything. Sorry? He had it. Okay. But it was you. That was your name was on it.
Well, I don't know.
Sorry?
Yeah, it was Turiya.
Oh, Turiya it was. Yes,
Yeah.
sorry.
And then Paramananda had some from Skogsbruk, was that?
That's what it was.
Yeah.
I thought it was Madhavapuri.
No, Paramananda had also something from.
So these documents appeared very timely, so we could present them to the local authorities, and they did not accept us as buyers. So the local farmers around here didn't quite believe that we were farmers. And they wanted the land. So there was a whole lot of going back and forth there, and we could produce the documents and show that, well, we have some persons here, they know about forestry and they know about agriculture, although from other countries, but still. And so that, and then we appealed to there's the local Jordbruksstyrelsen, and they refused us due to the pressure of our neighbors. And then we appealed to Jordbruksverket, which is in Jönköping, and they approved of us. And then went back to Jordbruksstyrelsen, and this was a process of maybe nearly a year, back and forth, back and forth. And in the meantime, the owners of this place was Alfa Laval, and they had bought up the original owners here, Evos. They produced fodder for the animals, and so this was a barn. And so the thing was imbued with the example of Srila Prabhupada is, you just trust Krishna and do what you can do. So I remember going to Alfa Laval to the head office and meeting the CEO, Douglas, his name was. And feeling very small, pretending to be very big. And he didn't care about us. I mean, he didn't say, yes, you're good people, you should have, or anything. For him, it was just business, his signature. So that came on rather easily. And all of a sudden, we were the owners of Andix Gård. But there was a little, to this day, I don't know how it happened, because it's totally unlike me. I think it must have been the prompting or given the idea by Harikesh Maharaj or somebody, because when they presented, when everything was clear, they'd accepted us. We hadn't signed yet. I said, but, and I went down 200,000 in our offer. And after all these things, all right. So we got a little cheaper than, at least a little bit.
What did it cost?
As far as I remember, it was 1,700,000.
Yes, that's what I remember too. Which is, considering, of course it's been some years, but still, it was a good price. For all this land and all these buildings. So that was the beginning of this. And we got, we got also in the deal. Do you remember the first lastbil, truck that we had here? That we used to transport the greenhouses in? You don't remember? Okay, but we did. We got this big truck, and I don't know who had a license to drive it. Maybe nobody. I don't know. Very exciting. Very exciting days. And you?
Well, I don't have any more to say, but I wasn't that involved actually. A little bit with the finances, but not so much more with dealing. Yeah, I was also where to meet this Alfa Laval at one time. Anyway, but it's but maybe there are some questions or things that people want to hear here. Some other things. Which year it was? 81, as far as I remember. 1981.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's. Yeah.
One thing, it's, this was Korsnäs was bought in disguise, or at least the first meetings, with wigs and suits. But in the next meeting we had him, I think it was the next meeting, we were all of a sudden were shaved up and looking like Hindus. But it just didn't seem to matter. And as you all know, one advantage of wearing the kurta and dhoti and being shaved up is that they don't know how to figure you out. Because you look at the hair and the dress and you put them in categories, But here you couldn't put us into categories. So whatever we ourselves projected for our own self-image was what came across.
Well, I think this person, when it comes to Korsnäs, the one who had all the money in the place, and he more or less could decide, he was very impressed by us, by this young people who had doing their own thing, and also are ambitious and determined like that, because he liked that kind of person, like so, being independent and doing things. So I think you appreciate us very much for that,
Yeah.
for our otherness, in a sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So, we can walk with the spirit of Prabhupada. Yes.
Prabhu, so propagating consciousness was really a milestone in this country, Sweden. I mean, with the limited resources they had at that time, it was really a big step forward. And I think Krishna consciousness really flourished after that. Can you describe like the first few years of that? Because I was mostly a traveling Sanjit, I had no idea what was going on outside of that.
Yes, well, I gave you the first part. Okay, what are we going to do now? We've got to collect money. So me and Maharaj and a few other devotees went out, like I said, swimming in the lakes around. And it wasn't a holiday, I can tell you. And so that was the first phase. And then people started coming. Because we have to remember, Korsnäs was voted a few years ago, before, was voted the most popular picnic place for Stockholmers to go in the weekend. And they had like a little cafe.
That was before the criminals got it.
Yeah, before the criminals. and it was in a very beautiful style, even though the criminals, as you say, had tried to make it into the pizzeria style, but still you saw the stately manner that it once was. So it was attractive. It was very attractive.
And we got a lot of people coming to the Sunday feasts. We actually advertised in the village there in Grödinge. We met the priest there, and we went to Vårsta and invited everyone to come to the place. So, and we had about 150 people from the Sunday feast. I mean, it was really a lot of people coming, and a lot of devotees. Were joining. We had also in the preaching center in Grevgatan that had been the temple before. Many came there, and then they, started going there, and then they just come to Korsnäs. So it was a lot of. I think we were about 12, 15 when we got Korsnäs, and then just in a few years it was over 100 that had joined. So it was a very attractive. Became very attractive for people to come and move in, and join. So.
Because the preaching center in Grevgatan wasn't really suitable for recruiting. It was in a sense because they received prasadam, but the showers were awful. A little hose from the wall there, ice cold water, worse than the lakes.
Yeah.
And that was not really the way to introduce people, induce them to join. But when we got Korsnäs, that's a different story. There was room, it was beautiful, and so you said 100. I think we were all at most, including Norway. I think we were 125. And most of us were there in Korsnäs, so it was a vibrant time. Yeah.
One aspect of the success, I think, was also Radio Krishna, that started in '78.
Yeah.
And attracted many people. So a lot of people became aware of the movement in a very special way. They could hear, people talking and discussing over the radio, and I think that inspired a lot of people to come.
Yeah, and
we had a lot of different other activities also. We had arranged symposiums with with academic people coming and talking, so it's and we were at Vegavan myself. Vegavan recited Purucha Shukta in Storkyrkan in Stockholm. so we had a good relation with Ludwig Jönsson, was a pastor, like a bishop more or less in
The King's Bishop.
He was very open. Do you remember when they had this church meeting and he was speaking?
Yeah.
We don't know where. There's vad heter det? I've forgotten the word even in Swedish, but whether spiritual awakening is going to come at these times. I met these Hare Krishnas. He said they came to me and wanted to talk about God. So he was actually preaching to all these church people about us in when they had this meeting in the church. So it was. We had very good relations in that way with both the cultural and academic world, and there was a lot of other activities we were doing. Those theater and radio and all. There was a lot of different activities, starting making Koshna's juice and these candles, and.
You were also doing a lot of interfaith when it was not really the thing in Israel at that time, kind of pioneers. Media, magazines, and TV shows. How did Radio Krishna come about?
By chance. No, they started this the local radio, närradion. They started. I happened to see in the paper that they started. So we just went to the to one of the prominent studios. Then it was only one basically, på Gotlandsgatan 88, if I remember right, Studio 88. And we decided just to start broadcasting. And we had lots of fun. And of course Madhavapuri and Alarka, they were doing these plays on the radio and the music. It was really nice. So we had substance also. But I can tell you one story that's quite interesting. And we had, on the radio, we had academics and religious professors and all sorts of, from Lund, what's his name? Famous. Where are you? There you are. The professor in Lund, in religious history. Anyway, okay, you'll think of it. So I interviewed him on Radio Krishna for over an hour, so the rumor kind of spread. And the anecdote I was going to say, I was sitting in Gränna many years later, sitting in the library, and then I hear a man asking the librarian, "Do you know where Vegavan Das lives?" And I just shrank in the seat. I don't want to be bothered. I'm reading. But he came up to me, and he started speaking. He said, "Do you know that you were the only thing you could possibly listen to on the radio?" Radio Krishna. And later, we are friends, and because he lives in Gränna, he moved there, and he turned out to be what you might call in the old days in Uppsala överliggare, someone that never leaves the university. Does one thing after another. I don't think you can do that nowadays, can you?
Well, you can. I mean, there are people that just taking courses all the time, and just continue if they have, can afford. They never, finish. They never taken exams, but they just taken all these courses. There are still people like that who are gathering all these points, but not an education.
Yeah. Now this man, quite extraordinary. He's so well read, and he was for a while working as a teacher in France, in the most famous university there. So he was a very well established and well respected man, and but he's a little weird. He always walks around again with a book, and he's got a little bag, and he always has something for me to give to me when we meet. But he was, it's just a typical example of a person that you might meet. Yeah. So we did a lot of programs from the radio, a lot of programs outside, a lot of programs with Christian societies. We were members of Katarina Stiftelsen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first.
Every day were school classes coming.
Yeah.
Sometimes several classes in one day.
Yeah. 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 Somehow we got into that world. Yes.
You had the center in Stockholm and you had Korsnäs, so what was exactly the vision for getting a farm?
Ajit mentioned that, well, everyone else was. So Gita Nagari, all sorts of things popping up. But also, when I first came here and saw it, I saw a village. You know, we can have devotees here, living here. And that was my personal vision. So, yeah.
Srila Prabhupada's vision was very much that we should, you know, live a simple living and high thinking, and be he even recommended that we shouldn't have machines and things like that. We should oxys and live in a traditional way, as much as possible. So he spoke about that quite a lot, to simple living, high thinking, and living in a traditional way with farming and living on the land and have cows. And so that he had a vision for this kind of development.
And those devotees who came here, did they have a common vision? What you wanted to achieve?
Yes and no. Is the diplomatic answer. Not really, is the real answer. I don't think I want to go into that. But no.
There's one vision that Vegavan Prabhu told me when they got the farm. He wanted to have a house up on the hill there, and there was a zip line all the way down to the
I still think it's a good idea.
Yeah, maybe another zip line.
Well, Bangladesh, I can go. It doesn't have to get wet or Maharaj, you know.
It'll be a zip line with a chair.
Ah, yes.
I think
yeah.
How many devotees were staying here in the beginning?
Goodness. Alaka, you might remember? No, very few. I moved here with my wife, much to her dislike, because we need to have some people here. So it took a while. Who can help me there? How many were we? Very few.
Yeah, Nadia Rayavata and Aya Devi were one of the first couple to be here. Amongst the first. Rayavata and Aya Devi.
very early we had the Gurukul here.
Yeah.
A lot of, but a few kids were living here. Gopali was living here. I mean, but I didn't live here, but my daughter lived here. I mean, eldest daughter.
Yes.
For some time, I don't remember.
And Alarka is still Mother Alarka to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
So I don't know how many kids were there here at the Gurukul.
I had 9 girls in the ashram, and then Maharaj, you were there taking care of the boys.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, all this.
Yeah.
Of course, the Gurukula had already started in Korsnäs.
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
moved here.
Moved here.
Here's a question.
First of all, thank you so much for this amazing service and contribution to this movement. And my question is, have you ever met opposition from Swedish government or Swedish people? Because what I know from other countries, France, England, it was not always easy, and I hear that everything actually was so wonderful. So how was it?
If I start, then you take over because you
Okay.
have a lot. He's the fighter. Well, when I first came as a devotee back, which was in 1973, and the summer, 1st of June, as we say, yeah. And we walked on the streets in the Sergels Torg, Sergelsgatan, and up and down. And we were surprised, both me and Ajit were surprised how friendly people were, how nice they were, and also how a lot of the people have heard about the Vedas and Bhagavad Gita, oh, maybe not so much, but there was some sort of fallback on a knowledge that they had previously received from school or whatever. So I was very pleased because we were sort of trained up by Hansaduta in Germany. My God. So this was heaven. Yeah. And we really wanted to keep it that way, keep this. So we were quite on the alert for things, some of the, shall we say, not so palatable things that we learned through others' experience and also partly our own experience abroad. How not to be learned, how not to do it.
So I don't think I can agree with this altogether, because we had a lot of opposition from the press. I mean, I was interviewed by a woman, a journalist from Expressen, and we had a good talk, and I thought she understood that I was, reasonably intelligent and knew what I was doing and everything. And then she wrote something completely different in a paper. This is some crazy people, more or less. When Willie, which is my Kami name, does something bad, then God lifts him in his shika, I think that, and it's I mean they were, it was really, I was really upset, and this was not the only article. There were many negative articles, because they wanted to, this is some little strange sect people, although and one thing that happened when we got Korsnäs, I remember there was a person from Dagens Nyheter came to interview us and interviewed me and my wife Kalindi at that time, and he was going to write from a certain page from the family section in Dagens Nyheter, and then he came back a second time and he said, there will be no article. I cannot write. From talking to you, I cannot write what they want me to write.
Yeah.
So he was an honest journalist, but mostly they were not. And one thing that also interesting, when Prabhupada came and he spoke at Stockholm University, afterwards there was an article in Dagens Nyheter, was read, Hare Krishna, the tool of the reaction. And that was from a communist writer, who said this, and she had been there at the university and seen this and wrote, this is, and even she was also referring to this, this is a arranged thing from the, authorities to stop this revolution by making the young people religious instead of fighting against the capitalist system. So we were part of
The reactionaries.
Part of this more or less organized. She even mentioned about CIA because that they were, we were more or less a CIA thing to stop this kind of, left-wing revolution thing. And also, I think I met that quite a lot on the street too. These communist people came and said,
I did.
Anyway, so another thing from the authorities. I mean, we had this temple in Spånga, and next to us lived some
Pentecost
people, and they complained about our kirtans and things like that, and the health department came and they measured, with the sound and things like that, and so they were difficult. And when we was going to start a restaurant in Grevgatan after we got Korsnäs, we wanted a restaurant there. That was stopped also so it's, I think we have let,
well, we had
opposition in different
opposition,
ways.
but that's to be expected. But I mean, a restaurant, as we know today, there are very strict rules.
Yeah,
for
I
a
know.
restaurant, it should be.
Yeah.
And we didn't follow them.
Okay. All right. Anyway, but I think opposition has been much greater in many other places. So, yeah.
Yeah. In general, I thought it was, compared to many other places, a walk in the park.
Okay.
Yes.
I just wanted to comment on this from my perspective, that there were a little bad article here and there, and a good article here and there, and in general, people's impression of us were something different, something colorful, not something for us, until the professional anti-cult people came here to sell their business of deprogramming. The general impression wasn't negative. The people saw what they didn't think negative. And then they were kind of pushing that narrative and having the most ridiculous article of parents sitting there and crying over their 28-year-old daughter in the cult. And I think something changed at that time. Some innocence was there in people's attitude to us. And obviously you have some authorities here and some articles here, but in general when we said Hare Krishna. And then for a while it was bad, and then we went on Sankirtan. It's some years ago, but it was still long after we went. Often we went out for Sankirtan, and I was presenting something, and the person looked very hesitant. And in the end, I asked, "Where are you? Who are you? Where are you come from?" I said, "We're Hare Krishnas." And then, they visibly were relieved. So maybe we are getting back that.
Well, I think it's getting better in this sense. I mean, I don't know really. You would know better. But what is there to dislike about a movement? If we behave like Prabhupada said, we should behave like gentlemen and ladies, I suppose. So what is it to dislike? Unless you come with an agenda like the communists, the Marxists. We have to remember this time the Marxists have taken over the universities and all these things. So the narrative was definitely influenced by that. And of course with those eyes, we were the reactionaries. But what is there to dislike, really?
But we had to be really careful because the children, they made a very bad TV shot about children. They looked very nice when they were here, and they were so friendly. And then when we saw it, it was really hard. Do you remember that? Yeah. Your daughter was in there too. Hard.
Yeah.
Great opposition from the commune, municipality, to our school, that we took care of our own children. And then there was a very hot-tempered meeting with the authorities, and Sri Prabhu and Jagadish Maharaj. And it was a very long discussion because the authorities thought that there should be one school for everyone.
Yeah.
En skola för alla. And it's no question of we take care of our children. So it was a very hot discussion. I heard about it, I was not there myself. And Jagadish Maharaj told them, you are atheists and we are theists, and they can never work together. And then after more discussion, Sri Prabhu, he said, yeah, okay, you can have our children, but then you have to guarantee that nobody, no children start to take drugs, nobody takes alcohol, no girl will become pregnant, and that's the condition. They gave up.
We were in contact with the headmaster all the time, locally, and he said this about that there is a school for everybody, and I said it's not true. It's not true. And he said, yeah, and I everything I learned in school, he said, I've used in my life, and I said I haven't used almost anything in my life. But then the teachers came here to talk to the children, and they were so impressed because they thought that the children would be very shy and scared, and the children were jumping at them and wanting to show them whatever they have been doing, and they were so impressed that in the beginning they came quite often to check the children, and then they came more and more seldom, and every time they came, they wanted to have kirtan with the children and prasadam. Can we have prasadam when it comes? And the children speak. So they were very, very friendly all the time, very, very.
Yes. That's because you were friendly to them. And that's the key. I was in this meeting in England just this spring. We're meeting with old Prabhupada disciples that worked in England, and there was he was specially invited. I was specially invited because I'd been in dealings with English devotees quite a bit. But he was specially invited because he's not a Prabhupada disciple. Shonaka Rishi, some of you will know. And he gave a wonderful class. He said that, because someone asked him, how is it that you, with no academic merits, can go and establish an institution in the institution of institutions in the academic world, Oxford University? How is it? How could you do it? he thought it was a bit of a miracle himself. But he said, the important thing is not the frontline preaching, going, you this and you that, and we are this and we are that. It is he called it the backroom preaching. It means, if you are, I think I can speak for Ajit also, and we are quite curious people, curious persons. And we want to, if you speak to someone, you want to know who is this and what's the background. So he said if you listen to someone and you're not a fanatic, while you're listening to them, you're not thinking of how can I bring this person to Krishna through different, what can I say, but you listen. And are friendly. It's a backroom, he called it the backroom preaching. I thought it was a perfect name for it. So our personality shines through, as you know, Kamala. It shines through, and it has to shine through. We don't have to hide behind dogma, because just like when we moved to Gränna, we were thinking, how are we going to do with the schooling for the children? So we went to speak to the headmaster. He was so accommodating. He was so friendly. He was so welcoming. We thought, mission done, He's such a nice person. We can entrust our children here. Well, that's what we do. We encourage, try and bring out the niceness of people and their latent spirituality, because that's basically what it is. It's latent. But it has to come out through their way, not forced by us. I can get off on a tangent here. I saw that you want to say something.
No, I don't think so.
Oh.
I forgot it anyway. In that case.
The advantage of old age.
Yeah. But no, it's. I just want to agree to what you said. It's you can befriend people. I mean, listen and communicate, and then I can say that, of course, my father, he was a very determined atheist when I grew up, and so it was a little bit of shock for him when I wrote back from Australia that I joined the Hare Krishnas, and he said, "Yeah, we had insane people before in our family." But when I got back, I just and we came back to Sweden to start a movement, and I was talking to my father, and I know what he likes, and there are some of the moral things in the Hare Krishna movement he is attracted to. General things. So I just spoke to him about the aspects of this that I know that he liked, And after some time, he even got into more spiritual things, So you just have to catch on to what kind of person is this, How can I speak to that person? So that he or she becomes, appreciative of it. So it's a way of, my relation to my father is a perfect example of this. He became very favorable to the movement after some time, and even supported it. He helped us a lot. Actually, when we were going to lease the cars, remember, we didn't have any guarantees, so he was, he put on bond for that, and also for different things. He helped, the movement a lot, and so this way, if you see what kind of person you're dealing with, you can just preach in intelligent way to that person. Not force anything upon them, but see that they discover, what is good in what you're talking about. Just like Vegavan said, Yeah.
Yeah. Now, when I see and I met you and Mukunda's son, where is he? There he is. When they came to see us in Grena with the brahmacharis, I was really impressed. And I thought, wow. I think I wrote to Mukunda also something about, I've got hopes for the movement now. Because they were gentlemen. And they were knowledgeable. They were respectful. All these things that you expect from a devotee, but seldom see. Oops, sorry. Take that back. But I know, you know, I mean, we know our history, we know so many things that we've done not so good and not so nice. But we have to think, I mean, I refer many times back to Prabhupada, you know, we have to become gentlemen, you know. And when this thing came out, maybe Ajit, he blew the whistle on some dealings that were not so particularly nice, not just here, but also around the world, and he became, in many of the leadership's eyes, a villain who's trying to do something bad for the movement. Whereas in actual fact, he was trying to honor Prabhupada's statement that we should become gentlemen. We treat others as gentlemen. I mean, as gentlemen treat others. And then what can there be to object? That we dress a little differently. We have a slightly different philosophy. And if we don't get carried away by too much pride, what can there be to object? Because we are nice people, aren't we? Yeah. So let that shine.
Hare Krishna. So, just thinking of the last question. Time is running, and so you brought Srila Prabhupada to Sweden, invited him, and he came. And could you say something about? Did Prabhupada speak about Sweden and people in Sweden? I know also the plan was he would come back. And could you say something about that?
Yes.
You can tell.
As Prabhupada, he appreciated very much the stay in Sweden. He was. I think he was a little bit impressed about the people and the place and the cleanliness and everything, and he wanted to come back. I mean, I wrote to, many times, because I was a temple president at that time, and I had, I had quite a few letters from Prabhupada, and every time he says he very much liked to come back, and so but it didn't happen, and well, it was Hansuduta didn't want him to come back to Sweden. That's he was. I mean, what Vegavan just mentioned. I came in very strong conflict with Hansuduta because I didn't like the tactics they were doing in Germany, and he wanted to introduce them in Sweden, and that's why I wrote to Prabhupada. We can't do this. This kind of, just like, I mean, it ended up in a razzia in Germany when they, confiscated a lot of money. I didn't want this to happen in Sweden, so I wrote directly to Prabhupada and said we don't want to introduce these tactics here. So Hansuduta didn't like me, and everyone else, and all these leaders who did all these ways that we didn't like all around the world, they didn't like me either, because I wrote directly to Prabhupada about something. And after that, no one was allowed to write directly to Prabhupada. They should go through the GBC. That was the things that happened. So that's, yeah. But Prabhupada wanted to come back to Sweden, but he didn't.
Well, when we first got consciousness, do you remember, Maharaj, or the first brochure that we had a drawing of the main building, or some other also?
Yeah.
I sent that to Prabhupada and asking him to come, but this was 77, and Tamal Krishna Maharaj later told me that Prabhupada really wanted to come, but he was sick. He was so sick, and I think I told you, time, Lord, time is winding up. I told you that yesterday, I think it was, but the last Vyasa Puja that we had with Prabhupada, that was in London. Someone from here was in London at that time, wasn't it? Okay, no. So we could see, I got a shock. I didn't know that, Prabhupada, that you were so thinking, so sick. But he wanted to come anyhow. That's typical of Prabhupada's, drive. But he didn't. He didn't.
Just a quick one. Can you confirm that Prabhupada actually said that Sweden is cold country, you can have halva regularly? That was the reason we used to have halva every Saturday for breakfast.
Sounds like one of these Prabhupada said. No, I cannot confirm but this memory here is rapidly fading.
What was the
halva? Oh.
I was just asking for confirmation if Prabhupada actually said that Sweden is cold country, you can have halva, not halva. That was the excuse we had. We had halva every Saturday on traveling Sankirtan.
It has to be some perks. Yeah. Are we?
But one thing Prabhupada said was really strange. But he didn't like this prime minister in India, Nehru, because Prabhupada was a Gandhi before he met Bhaktisiddhanta. He was very much involved in Gandhi's project, and Nehru, he studied most this westernization and industrial thing like that. So he thought Nehru was not a good person, and once he said Nehru has become a dog in Sweden.
Yep.
I don't know where it came from. Maybe.
Yeah.
He got it from an astrologer.
Oh yeah, you did. Okay. Okay.
So, did you meet that dog? Yeah.
The dogs here are having a comparably nicer life maybe than India.
But this, how much time do we have, Prabhu? Few more minutes. I think I'd like to say something, which I was going to say when me and Arya Devi do some songs together. But I'll wait till then.
So everybody.
Cliffhanger. That's what Swarup Prabhu yesterday. He's speaking very nicely, and then I was waiting for okay, so what is it? The big thing that Prabhupada has presented, and it was a cliffhanger. We have to read his book. Fortunately, I know a little bit about it, but yeah. Well, cliffhangers are good and bad. For someone like me, cliffhangers are no good because I want it now. Okay, so I'll tell you a little story this afternoon. When are we doing this? That's this morning later on, is it? With Ari Devi singing and things?
Yes.
10:30.
10:30. Yeah.
And there's Prashant.
And Prashant. Oh, perfect. Then I'll tell you a little story, which I think you might like. And some of you have heard it. But it is of extreme importance for the future of our movement in our dealings with each other. And it's brings good thoughts. See you then.
Hare Krishna, we're so grateful to both of you that you have taken your time coming here and addressing us all. And you brought Prabhupada to Sweden and you established these projects, Koshnas and Amrik. So we are so grateful to you for your services. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. As you know, I've been keeping an eye on you over the years. And what I see is so encouraging. Thank you.
I just also want to welcome now Arya Devi. She just arrived. Thank you very much for coming. And as Vegavan said, 10:30 we continue here, and there will be songs and performances. And but before this, breakfast, prasadam. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I've not said it before, but thank you very much for bringing Krishna consciousness to Sweden, because I would never have been able to become a devotee in Malaysia. Family prayer. And come out.
Yes.